Hello everyone, and thanks for stopping by to Scrap and Craft with Terry. Today we're going to make an index trifold flip. That's what we'll call it. I saw this a while back on Kathy's Garden. I can't remember for sure if this is one of her newer videos or if it's an older video, but I thought it was pretty cute and it's something different, so I thought we would do that today. And we haven't used index cards for a while, so that's what we're going to do. So if you like my video, I just ask that you give me a thumbs up and check out my other ones. So we're just using these, the little cheap index cards. They're 5 inches by 3 inches. If you don't have index cards, you could just use a heavier piece of a printer paper or a really lightweight cardstock, because these aren't very sturdy. They're kind of flimsy. So if you don't have one, you can still make this. So these are coffee dyed, and there's lines on one side. So the lines I'm going to glue down. I have 3 pieces of paper here that I'm going to glue my index cards to. So let me get my paper over here. And I'll turn my paper over so I don't glue the index card to the wrong side. Okay, now you can use your glue stick on this if you want. I'm just using Fabri-Tac. Did any of you see the eclipse last night? I stayed up until about 10 after 3 this morning. Watched it off and on. It wasn't really the red color. You could see the red. It was a deep red. It wasn't as bright as what they let on like it was gonna be, or any of the pictures that anybody had been showing in advance. Thought it was gonna be a little bit brighter. My phone camera wouldn't really pick up the color in it, but it's okay. It was pretty cool. I like to watch stuff like that. I think it's fun. And luckily, the sky was clear, so you could see it. Then I read online that some of the states was supposed to be able to also see the northern lights, and Ohio wasn't one of them, but in a couple of the pictures that I did take, I could see pink streaks through the sky, so I think we might have been seeing some of that also. Okay, so there's one. And then let me just go ahead and glue these other 2 down. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got them glued on. I went ahead and inked around the outsides. Got a little heavy-handed on my ink right there, but that's okay. Now you lay out your index cards, and you decide which way you want your flips to be. I want some of the plain colors on the inside. So when it would flip over, you would have it something like this. And then on this one, the back would be plain, which means that you have a lot of journal space on there. So, and I want this in the center. So we're going to go ahead and make little hinges to attach these. Now I made my hinges the same length as my index cards. If I have to trim them a little bit, that's okay. And they're just 3/4 of an inch wide. So, and then just fold them in half, and I had already inked them. So we're just going to put the folded edge to the outside of this. And we're going to glue that down. So we will go ahead and do that. I just think this would make a cute little insert into your journal. Another piece of ephemera. And to me, the biggest or the most fun part of this journaling stuff is making the ephemera. Now make sure you're right to the edge. So when you fold out, it's going to be like this. And then I'll just trim that little tiny bit off. Now you can use whatever paper you want to cover these. If you don't want to cover them, you don't feel like you have to cover them. Then I'm just going to put glue on this side. And I'll just flip this right over, line it up. Make sure it's lined up top and bottom. And just fold that down. And then there is our first flip. So it would flip like this. Then if you have to trim anything, I think my paper on the bottom of this one might be just a little long. If you have to trim anything, just go along and trim your edges. And then I can just re-ink. Hopefully I didn't trim too much off of it. I think that looks better. This one might be sticking over a little tiny bit more now. I think I trimmed it just a little too much. So we'll trim this one, and then we'll trim the other one to match this. Keeping in mind that it's just called junk journaling, so we don't have to be perfect. Okay, now, hope I didn't get ink all over that. On this one, I'm just going to glue this down here. So as you're putting these together, make sure either your top edge or your bottom edge is lined up. Make sure you do it on when you do both of your hinges. Then if you have to trim, then you would only be trimming one part. Because I don't know, a lot of times when I make stuff it's the right size, but I have to trim a little bit. Sometimes your paper just doesn't get cut right. All right, and then this one will flip over onto this. So we'll put a little glue on here. So So how's everyone doing today? Hopefully everyone is doing good. Getting ready for the weekend. I like it when the weekend comes. And then we're just going to flip this over. Make sure it's lined up at the top good. So this will fold over and that'll fold over. And it doesn't matter which way you fold it. You can fold it in and fold it over. I think I like it better this way. So we would fold it this way and then we would fold it this way. Okay, so that's our trifold. Now, I'll do my center pocket now. I'm going to have to cut this down. I'm going to run the pocket a little bit over these hinges so I have enough room because this is so much more narrow because of the hinges, but that doesn't matter. That's just fine. That's the way it looks. So we'll go ahead and cut this off. So let's see. I made my pocket about just barely over 2 3/4 by 2 inches. So you can make yours however you want it. Hopefully when I initially cut this piece, it was straight. It doesn't look very straight on there. And because it's not straight, so let's just trim it out a little bit. Just cut a little sliver off of it. And hopefully that helps. And then I'm just going to kind of center this in between. Okay. And I'm not going to cut a thumb notch because I'm going to add a little piece of lace across there just to dress up the pocket a little bit. Now, you just don't want to put too much bulk inside because you might have a little harder time closing your trifold. I'm going to put it something like that. And I still don't think that that's very straight. But that's what we're going with. Now let me make sure. I'm going to have to trim. I'm going to have to trim the tag off just a little tiny bit. So I'm going to put my lace across here. I'm going to put this little arch in the center because of course I like to make my lace even. Guess it's just a picky thing. And then we'll just trim this one off. Pull that over a little. This little piece of lace must have been bent a little bit, so I'll just take that glob of glue off of there, and maybe I can do something. So maybe I'll just put a little tiny bit of glue right there just to hold that center down. Okay. Then I have, this is just a little piece of a digital, was left over on a strip, so I just cut around it. And I'm just going to glue this on here. Just to gussy that up a little bit. Okay, now let me just trim my tag off a tiny bit. We'll just do a little on each side. If I do a little on each side, then I shouldn't have to cut my angle again. This was just a leftover tag from something. I don't know what the something was. One of the projects that I did a while back. Now let's see if this fits down in here. Let's just do a little tiny bit more. Okay, so I trimmed it off more, inked around it. Excuse me, now it fits in there good. Now it had already had a little hole in here, but I'm not going to use that hole. I cut 2 pieces of paper that match the pocket. It's getting caught on the little hinges. Okay. So I cut 2 circles. I just want to see about where I want these. I don't want it to go, well, it could probably go just barely above there. So I'm just going to make a little mark right here so I don't go down too far. All right, so it's going to be right under the hole. So I'm just going to add that on there. Let's see. I don't guess the polka dots really don't have to be lined up. So I'll just move it over a little bit. And then we'll just glue this one and put it right on there. Then on the back of the card, we have journaling space. There, I think that's kind of cute. And I don't really think it sticks up, just barely. So if you wanted it to stick up more, you could just pull it up a little bit. Let's see what that looks like. So that's even cute like that. So however you want it to be. Okay, now over here on this side, we're going to add a little notepad, and it's just coffee dyed paper, some of that gray paper that I've been using. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 pieces of paper, And I just used my pinking shears, pinked the edges, just to make it look fancy. And then I went ahead and stamped the little flower on each one. Now, one thing that I wanted to do, so you could write on both sides a little easier, I sometimes like to crease these papers just so it's easier to fold them back. So when you want to write on the back of it, it's not so hard. To flip it up. Okay, now let's see how that works. So we'll just fold it over this way a little bit also. And then we'll just fold it back this way some. Now all I did was staple these together. And then underneath, when you flip this up, you'll have journaling space underneath here. So when we glue this down, you're going to be able to fold your papers back because, you know, you want to be able to write on the back of it also. Okay, so we're just going to glue this down. And I made these papers about 2 3/4 by about 4 1/4. So you would just, if you put a notebook in, you would just make it to fit your space. And then the header, I just used a piece of this paper. So we'll just hold this down for a minute, seeing how I bent it all around. Make sure it sticks good. I like to sometimes pink the edges just to make it look fancy. Okay, so that'll fold that way and that'll fold that way. That'll be cute, huh? Now over here on this side, this is just going to be a journal spot, but I didn't really want it to just be plain. So I thought I would just use this little, it's a little floral stamp. And I thought I would just lightly stamp around on it. And you're still going to be able to journal on it because it's not really dark. And I just thought that would be kind of cute. Hope you can see it. I just thought that would be kind of cute, so it's just not so plain. And then on the back, where this is plain, we could just do the same thing. Just stamp a little bit of flowers. That just makes it look a little better, I think, anyway. Okay, let's set that aside. So inside we have our tag, and I could have went over this and maybe just to make this match a little tiny bit, maybe I should just ink it a little bit so it's not quite so white. I don't generally do a whole lot of inking on camera, but sometimes you have to do stuff after the fact. I right, so that's not the same as the coffee dyed, but it's not bright white. So we have our tag, and we have our notepad, and we have our journaling space. Then we have our journaling space back here also. So let's fold this in like we're supposed to be. Now, for a closure, she just cut a piece of paper. It was 2.5 wide by 8.5 long. Now I made little lines on here so I would know where to fold it. And you just put your flip in the center here and fold them up. And then we're going to tie it shut. So we can just fold this and crease it a little bit. And just fold this so we know it's even and crease it a little bit. Let's see if that still fits. Yes, it does. Now, to make these so they're not just plain and square, you can either round your corners, you can cut angles in them to make them look like a tag, or she used her tag cutter, and that's what I'm going to do to make the ends look fancy. And there's a 2.5 inch setting on here. So that's what we have. So we're going to go ahead and stamp that. Isn't that cute? Oh, I love this stamp. And then we're going to do the other end. I think that is just so cute. I was so excited when I got that. Okay. Now if I can pick them up and move them. Now this will, and I can erase these little marks because they didn't fall exactly on the little mark anyway. Almost. Close enough. And then because this is going to show, I thought I would just ink a little bit on here. Just to darken it down a little bit. This part here is not going to show. I really don't care for this brown, but it's what I have, so I guess it's what I have to use. All right, and then quickly I'm just going to ink around the edges. I feel like when I ink on camera, I'm making everybody sit and wait. Okay. Now, I can just make sure the outside of everything here is inked, and I'm pretty sure it is. Okay, so we're all done with that now. So now we're going to close this up, set this in here, and make sure it fits. Now we're going to want to have it centered as good as we can get it. So when we glue this down, we'll want to make sure that we look at the back just to make sure. Oh, and you know what? We glued, or we, because this is the first one I made, so wasn't really paying attention, I guess. We inked this, but we're not going to see this. This is going to be glued down. So scratch the fanciness on there. And you just want to make sure which way you're going in so you know when you finish it. We're just going to put some glue down here, but we're not going to go over that fold. Okay, now that's my back. And I'm going to fold these over so I know that I'm not going to lose out on my fold. I think this has to come this way just a little tiny bit, tiny bit. I think that looks good now. Okay. Now this will fold up here and this will fold up here. Yes, I think that looks good. Okay, now I don't have the eyelets, so I'm just going to use these paper reinforcers that I cut out of cardstock. That cuts a big hole. I'm going to use a little hole, but that's okay. And we're going to do the other one, and I'm only going to put them on the outside. I don't think they need to be on the inside, except that might make it look better. So I might have to change my mind. And put them on the inside. Okay, so I went ahead and cut a couple more and put them on the inside because I guess it does look better. All right, now I'm just going to use, this is a little bit heavier. It looks like the baker's twine, so it's just cotton thread, but it's a little bit heavier. So let me put a little glue on it. Kind of helps to hold the edges together. Can also tie a knot in it. Now let me see. I'm going to go in from there. Let me go in from here. And I'll put quite a bit because I want to be able to tie it. And then I can adjust my length. So let me see. I think I'll cut it off about here. And we'll put a little on here, and then if I cut it, then I can just add more glue to my ends. Always when I'm gluing stuff, I have glue all over my fingers. And then we'll just slide this in there. So then we're just going to tie these in a bow. No, I didn't tie that tight enough. Okay, so hold my finger on there. I'm a fumble fingers when it comes to tying bows, especially with this little string. Okay, so that is our finished look. And then I think I can cut some of this off. I don't want to cut too much off because you still have to have enough for tying. Okay, so I think that's kind of cute. Now up here on top, I'm going to take the tie out. I'm actually wondering if it's supposed to go through this way. Not really sure. But anyway, I'm just going to glue this up here as a little decoration. And then down here on the bottom, I have these little pearl flat backs. Now I was going to put just one row of them, but I don't think they show up very good. They're really kind of thin. So we'll just do 2 rows. So it looks like there's something there anyway. And we'll just put them down there. Just for a pretty. Okay, I had the strings through wrong. I had them coming, I don't know what I did. But anyway. You just have your strings going from the inside out. And from the inside out, it doesn't go around the back, and it doesn't go over top of the little fancies that you have here. Okay? So then you just tie your bow. And that makes it easier. And that holds it down better. Now you can use ribbon or lace or fabric. Anything that you want to use. See, that ties so much better. And that's really cute. So now I can cut off just a little tiny bit more. Okay. Now, isn't that better? That's just too cute. I like that. So, let me know down in the comments what you think. When you open it up, you just might have to pull one tie out and just open it up, do your little journaling, get your little, and see, this wouldn't be able to go over too far. It would have to stay about to the top of your flip out. So that's what I'm saying. This is the first one I made, so you have to learn as you go. And then you have your paper pad over here. So then we just close it back up. I really like these. These are cute. And now the ends of your string, if you have just like the baker's twine, you can tie knots in it also. And then that would also keep it from fraying. But aren't these cute? Oh, I think I want to make some more of these. So let me know down in the comments what you think. If you like my video, I just ask that you give me a thumbs up and check out my other ones. So until the next time, everyone, have a wonderful day and happy crafting. Bye for now.